Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This Thanksgiving, be thankful for free bets. New customers can bet $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. Just remember to use the code PHNX when you sign up. Chierstin Susel here with Johnny Venerable. Johnny, how's it going? We've got a big Friendsgiving gathering tonight with the PHNX crew. I'm making stuffing as we speak.
Nice. Yeah. We're making some corn casserole, and I'm looking forward to getting together with everybody. For those of you who don't know, so we have a very vast PHNX staff. So Chierstin and I and Frank, and sometimes we hang out a lot, but we don't get to see other members of different beats and podcasts. So we're looking forward to having everybody under one roof tonight.
And that would be why we've got an early show today. So
yes,
2:00 show. We got to get ready for Friendsgiving after this. All right. Well, Johnny, I don't know about you, but I am a big time people watcher.
Are you now?
People watch. Absolutely love it. And typically it's people that have consumed large amounts of alcohol.
Gotcha.
Those are the my favorite people to watch. DJ Humphries is also a big time people watcher, but he likes to watch sober people apparently, and he has advice in terms of if you are a people watcher, here is the absolute best place to people watch.
No question. Walmart got the most interesting people in the world and the most variety. It's a wide array of strange people at Walmart, man. I'm telling you, you got to go. You can't go to Target. It's not the same. Target, it's not the same. Walmart, it's a great time. Trust me, guys. Trust me. Your next outing that you just got to go get something generic like some tape or, anything that you can get from any generic store, please go to your nearest Walmart. Not a neighborhood Walmart, preferably a super Walmart. And go in there and do a lap. You don't have to go in, just do a lap and just enjoy yourself. You're welcome.
I agree. Big difference between the super centers and the neighborhood Walmarts. Big time difference. People watching definitely much better at Walmart.
So it's funny he should say that. So I went and saw the new Ghostbusters with my son on Saturday, and it's in the trailer. There's this scene where Paul Rudd goes to a Walmart to get ice cream, and their little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man are running around. But it's like the cleanest Walmart in the history of Walmarts. No one's there. It's clearly there to pump up Walmart and product placement. I'm like, that looks like never a Walmart I've seen in my life. Usually there are people, mostly in like motorized carts, rolling around, hanging out. All due respect, do what you got to do. But yeah, it's kind of like the zoo for human beings.
Yeah, that's why you've got People of Walmart, like a whole website. I think that's what it's called, a whole website dedicated to it, which somebody reminded me on Twitter of that website, and I briefly clicked on it, and it was the first few posts were somebody shopping with their cat and somebody shopping with their dog in a stroller with sunglasses and a hat. And then from there, it went to people dressed inappropriately, but you get a wide.
Some of the best ones, a woman or man using underwear for a mask, right, when the pandemic began. And then there was a really disturbing one where somebody had like an iguana and they were letting it crawl over the produce. Oh, man. Don't go with Walmart produce. Keep it sealed in the box, in the packaging. Yeah, we get our produce from Fry's, not Walmart.
Oh my goodness.
Just hanging out. There's a big lizard on the tomatoes.
That's absolutely disturbing.
Great, isn't it?
I also
feel at a loss for words.
I really am. I just have like these visions in my head of this thing crawling on. I just can't even fathom it.
It must have been a therapy pet. Walmart's good to go on like any cat. So if you want to bring Norman somewhere to get some exercise, they basically let anything fly with animals. They will not push back. The people at the front door,
it's Newman, Johnny, not Norman.
What did I say? Norman is the great value version of Newman.
But actually, we call him Norman sometimes as a joke because I guess in Seinfeld. So my boyfriend named Newman after Newman in Seinfeld, and I guess there's like a scene. So, I don't know what the scene is, but there is a scene where somebody says, goodbye, Norman.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and so
Sometimes
we
you call
actually
Norman.
will call him Norman sometimes. So that's really funny that you just said that.
That was not on purpose. That was a snafu by me.
All right. Well, before we get into some Cardinals talk, we were talking yesterday about Espo and Saul making some big time money on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. We're talking like
Yep.
over $1,000 because I think it was because Jay Crowder hit the first bucket of the game. Definitely money to win on the
Yes.
DraftKings Sportsbook app. I think they just put $100 down on it and cashed out on over $1,000. So this is the week to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code PHNX because they've got a Turkey Day no-brainer for you. New customers that bet just $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game, you're going to get $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. And they also have a same game parlay offer as well. So for those Thanksgiving games, all customers, so this is all customers, get a risk-free bet up to $25 if you bet on a same game parlay and it doesn't win. So risk-free up to $25. So why would you not do that? DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. As always, though, it's 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. All right, Johnny. Some comparisons can be drawn between the 2021 Arizona Cardinals that are currently 9-2 and to the 2014 Arizona Cardinals, who also got off to a 9-2 start to the season. Hopefully not too many comparisons because we all know how that season ended. Lots of injuries, and it was a big time disappointment for a team that was thought of as a potential Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I was thinking about it today. We were brainstorming similarities between the two, and there are just a vast number. So both teams starting out 9-2. That team had quarterback issues. They lost not only Carson Palmer to an injury against the Rams, but then they lost backup Drew Stanton. And then they had to turn to Ryan Lindley. So they ended up losing 4 of their last 6 games. We hope that doesn't happen with the Cardinals. Colt McCoy played the best Drew Stanton impersonation, came out and got 2 road victories in 3 weeks. I think the difference is Carson Palmer, career injury concerns, older, right, immobile, whereas Kyler Murray has never been injured up until this point, has never missed significant time, high school, college, or now. So we feel like this is an outlier scenario. So there's one comparison. We're not going to dwell on that one too much. Also, defensive coordinators that were at the top of their game that could parlay their strong season into a head coaching job. So 2014 was the last season that Todd Bowles was with the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals had, I think, the top 1 or 2 defense in the NFL. They won the large majority of their games, especially in the last 8 games, with their defensive performance. After Palmer went down against the Rams, the Cardinals still managed to win 2 more games, but they did not score over 20 points the rest of the season. But it was this infamous performance against the Rams on Thursday Night Football where the Cardinals won something to the effect of like 9-6, 9-0. And Bowles basically had his stamp on being the next great, DC that went on to get a head job. And this year it's Vance Joseph. Cardinals have a top 5 scoring defense. They're phenomenal against the pass. Vance Joseph's only gotten better each of his 3 years with the Cardinals. He's already been a head coach, and a lot of people think he's in line to get another head coaching job at the end of the year. So those are 2 things that really stand out. On top of, 2 draftable wide receivers, Rondale Moore in the second, and then just around later, John Brown in 2014. He was a 3rd-round pick. Those are the best 2 rookie wide receivers the Cardinals have drafted in this time frame. I mean, you think Rondale Moore, everything in camp was best rookie training camp for a receiver since John Brown. So you look at all these parallels and you think, okay, both flush with talent, both should compete for a championship. We know what derailed the 2014 team. Hopefully it's not going to be the case this season. I don't think it will.
Well, whether it's Chris Streveler and again, I don't know why I cannot remember the guy that they just reportedly picked up. Johnny, what's his name? McSorley, my
McSorley.
goodness. There, for some reason, his name.
It's not an easy. It's not a John Smith. It's a Trace is unique.
You would think that would be, since it's unique, that I would be able to remember it. Like people forget my name, and I'm like, how many times have you heard Chierstin before? Like how can you forget a name like Chierstin? Like I always say, Chierstin like a cheerleader, and like how do you possibly forget that, because it is unique. And so the fact that I cannot remember Trace McSorley when it's there's probably one Trace McSorley in the entire universe, and the fact that I can't remember his name is killing me. I'm sorry. I've been there. I know.
The Mick in there too throws it off. Like McNugget, Mick what? So no, I'm with you. I forgot it yesterday on the show. I couldn't think of it either.
Well, I forgot it yesterday on the show. I forgot it again on the show today. So I need to like write his name on a sticky note every time before I'm going to go on a show, because it's not sticking with me. But what I was saying is, just like Ryan Lindley, I don't think whoever the Cardinals' third string quarterback would be, really any better. So hopefully it doesn't get down to that for sure. I think Trace finished with like less than a 50% completion rate in his games, like through 4 interceptions, and it just did not work out for him. But yeah, I mean, the parallels certainly are there. And, when you have one of the top defense wins championships, right? And so I think more than anything, that was also one of the reasons that team had such high hopes. And I think 2014 will always be a year that Cardinals fans will look back on and think of what could have been. Yeah. And I hope that we're turning a page here with the bye week in terms of injuries, and the Cardinals continue the success that they're having at the trajectory that they're at, because for sure, I think if something were to happen, like injuries or, whatever, this would be one of those seasons too, where Cardinals fans would look back on it and say, what could have been? Because as it sits now, the Cardinals are a legit Super Bowl contender. And I was also thinking too, though, we've been talking for a long time, but specifically, this week about Cliff Kingsbury and the ascension, maturation of his career and the last 3 years as an NFL head coach. Well, 2014, when the Cardinals were considered, I mean, think of all the names that we're talking and where the Cardinals were at and who was the head coach. And it seems like, forever ago. Do you remember that viral video of Cliff doing the stanky leg at practice in the middle of like a huddle?
Was that in 2014?
That was 2014.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Full circle, man. That's unbelievable.
Circle. Well, and my how things can change.
Yes. Well, I think this Cardinal team has a deeper, more competitive roster than that 2014 team. I think this season they have a better 53-man. I do think that they had a coaching advantage that they may or may not have. I think jury's still out on Cliff. Can he win in the playoffs? We know Bruce Arians is a Super Bowl winning head coach. I know he hadn't won one at that time, but he won one as an assistant. And what he's done with Tampa Bay kind of reinforces that. But I do think that this roster, Kyler Murray is a better player right now than Carson Palmer was in 2014. They're skilled players right now. I mean, they were overly reliant. Fitz was still a good player. Michael Floyd was hit or miss, and Brown was a rookie. They didn't really have a fourth option, and then certainly not a tight end. And their offensive line was pretty average. This skilled position group, I think we talked about it yesterday, it's a large reason why Colt McCoy was able to have success Sunday against Seattle. When you're just able to pick up a Zach Ertz at the trading deadline, and he is just still a supremely gifted player at tight end. I mean, the Cardinals really have not had a presence like that in Arizona. Goodness, it's been so long. The Jackie Smiths of the world, when this franchise was humming at that position, that was 4 decades ago. So to me, I think that defensively, maybe not as well coached, because I think very highly of Todd Bowles, but the talent's better. The Cardinals in 2014 did not have a pass rush. They had to manufacture pressure. They had a great secondary, but they could not get pressure off the edge. This year, they're going to have 2 guys that are going to sleepwalk their way to 10 sacks in Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden. And then they've got a slew of other players on their front seven, like Simmons, Jordan Hicks, Jordan Phillips, Watt when he was healthy, Zach Allen that can get upfield and pressure the quarterback. So I think the talent is way better, which is great. That's a testament to Steve Keim. Coaching TBD. But I mean, like, goodness, each passing week, it's tougher and tougher to doubt Cliff Kingsbury's ability to win in this league.
So you think Todd Bowles is a better defensive coordinator than Vance Joseph?
I do. Yeah. It's Todd Bowles came into this organization in 2013, and he had been an interim coach for the Dolphins. He was in the mix for head jobs before this. Bruce Arians, the story goes, wanted to go to Chicago. He thought he was going to get the Chicago job, and they were going to offer it to him, but he wanted to bring Bowles with him, and the Bears wanted somebody else. They didn't want to bring Bowles into the mix. They had a ancient scheme defensively where they ran a 4-3, wide 9, and so Bruce didn't get the job. The Cardinals were the last team to hire a head coach in 2013. So they came to Arizona. They got Bowles into the mix. They had a top 10 defense his first year in 2013. Vance, slow build, right? They were pretty bad his first year, and a lot of that was talent related. And then last year they were better, 13th, I believe, and this year they're going to be a top 5 to 7 unit. I like Vance. I think he's got a bright career. I think he deserves another head coaching job. To me, Todd Bowles went to New York with the Jets and won 10 games with the New York Jets that are one of the worst organizations in all pro football. Took Ryan Fitzpatrick and beat Bill Belichick and won 10 games. They didn't make the playoffs. Think about how crazy that is, but they won 10 games. So it's close. But Todd, in my opinion, is probably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL.
So it has nothing to do with Vance's use of Zaven Collins.
I mean, you want to go there? I don't really.
I just know
There's
you have
a
a
big
bonus
asterisk.
with Vance because you want to see Zaven out there.
Well, and I'm sure he spoke about it today, didn't he? Talked about my guy. Listen, we get questions about it. I love Vance. He's playing Marco Wilson in the secondary. He's played, rookie defensive tackles before. I just think that it is like a bugaboo with that position. It's just he's got an issue with playing rookies at inside linebacker. And I put this out there on Twitter. If we hadn't just gone through it with Simmons, I think we could raise a lot of questions, especially after Keim anointed Zaven Collins after they drafted him. For them to not play Zaven Collins, for him to play Zaven Collins all year, you would have had to cut Jordan Hicks. The minute Jordan Hicks was on this roster, Vance Joseph could not help himself. And he's like, I control the defense, and he does. I'm going to do what I want to do. And kudos to him. It's worked out. I still think Zaven Collins is going to be a really good player. But
so since you mentioned it, he did talk about Zaven. I know we're getting off topic here a little bit, but he did talk about Zaven today. And he mentioned that Zaven got nicked a couple of weeks ago, which kind of set him back. But then threw in there, he basically said, listen, he got nicked, said he missed a couple weeks of practice, which set him back, and then used the phrase, most rookies, it's on their terms as far as how fast they grow, which I feel like was intentional. I also feel like it's sort of curious. Yeah, exactly. Well, right. But then I'm also wondering, a lot of people were like, okay, well, he was never on the injury report. And to be honest with you, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I mean, there's no way that he just missed a couple of practices and wasn't on the injury report. So he has to be kind of fibbing a little bit in that regard. I don't know the deal. Like, if anybody's banged up in any way at all whatsoever, it's like they have to report it. Is there a way, what I'm getting at, is there a legitimate way that Zaven could be banged up or could have been banged up, which limited him in practice in any degree, and the Cardinals wouldn't have had to put him on the injury report?
Yeah, I think so, because he hasn't missed a game yet. He got knocked out of the Packer game. He was playing a lot leading up to the Packer game. He played a lot in Cleveland. I think I checked. I'm gonna try to do this on the fly. So this is not good podcasting.
This always goes well when we try this.
But I'm gonna do it on the fly. I'm gonna pull up the team report on Pro Football Focus just because I can pull up his snaps leading into the last couple of weeks. So I have it here. That did not blow up in my face, thank God. Against the Niners, he played 34 snaps. Against the Browns, he played 16, but he was the highest rated player that day. Against the against Houston, he played 32 snaps. So that's a 3-week span where he was playing more and more. And he only didn't play against LA because I think there was an issue with putting him out there and getting taken advantage of by Sean McVay. But he was averaging through the first 7 weeks of the season about 25 to 30 snaps, okay, which is a little bit more than what Simmons had last year. The last 2 games before Carolina, he played 3 snaps against Green Bay because he got hurt. He played 3 snaps against San Francisco. He played 23 snaps in relief of Tanner Vallejo against Carolina. Did not play well, and I think it's a combination of a lot of things. He's nicked up. He's not picking it up as fast as Vance would like it. He was an academic All-American, and everything that we heard about him coming out of Tulsa, and people roll their eyes at that. That's a real thing, okay? Like school is hard for a lot of people. He was a straight A student, and he was the captain of the defense at Tulsa, and he called the defense. He is not dumb, right? But the NFL is a different game, and he has to pick it up. I think the frustrating part, Chierstin, is that we look at the run defense and how poor it's been, and you just assume hey, put Xavier Collins. He's huge. He's almost 6'5". He's 260 pounds. That'll fix it. According to Vance, no, that will not fix it. That could potentially make it worse. I wrote an article a couple weeks ago, and it's this was before Tanner Vallejo went on IR. He's 6 foot, 220. Of course you're getting run over in the run game. And Simmons is not a great run defender. So all that to say, and I was supposed to do a comparison. Deion Buchanan in 2014 played a lot under Todd Bowles and had a really good season. He was a hybrid linebacker. Why can't that be with Xavier and what's going on with? I thought Vance would play him more to begin the season. In the preseason, he played a ton. They played all 3 linebackers. They had a good mix. I think Vance just gets cold feet. He would rather Jordan Hicks not make a play, but be in position to make the play, than Xavier Collins be out of position completely and have no chance. That's probably the best way I can rationalize it.
Well, I hear what you're saying. There's just a part of me that's not totally buying that, because I just can't imagine. I feel like Vance is getting more flack for not playing him than he would be had he been playing him, and he's getting his butt whooped. So in my opinion, if he was ready, and he wouldn't be saying stuff in press conferences when it comes to rookies, it's sort of up to them how quickly they catch up and are able to get out on the field. And so
acclimate. Yeah.
Right. And so I get what you're saying, but I just cannot fully buy into that notion. It's got to be something that we're not seeing behind closed doors, that Xavier just isn't picking up, or something else is going on. I have to trust Vance. And because I feel like it worked out with Isaiah Simmons, where, he's had a couple games where he's gotten exposed. But aside from that, Isaiah Simmons has had a really great second year with the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And Vance said a lot of similar things last year. I remember doing a one-on-one with him and just saying, listen, a lot of people are wondering why we're not seeing Isaiah Simmons. What's the deal? And he was just when they're ready, they're ready. And I think, with Isaiah is probably a little bit different because of the off season, because of COVID, and, having to pick things up was just a lot more difficult for rookies last year. But, he was it's this similar situation, super bright young man, very, very, very smart, put academics first, prided himself on academics, played just about every position in college and played it well. And he just didn't pick up the game, quick enough, or as quick that as the fans would like to have had him. And so I got to trust Vance on this. So I get what you're saying, not 100% buying it.
It's frustrating because you see Micah Parsons go 6 picks ahead, and they were the two that were compared. Micah Parsons is going to be the runaway defensive rookie of the year, and Dallas allows him to work through his mistakes. I buy the Simmons excuse because Simmons played, as you mentioned, every position at Clemson, and the learning curve was bigger, and they didn't touch him for 6 months because of the pandemic. Like Xavier played this position at Tulsa. He's been with the team since rookie mini OTAs, all that good stuff. Like he's been around, and he played the entire preseason. Isaiah didn't have a preseason,
Right,
so
right. Which
I thought that he would play more. Now, if it's not a problem, we don't have a conversation to have. If it's a problem for next year, you figure it out. But if the run defense is awful and it costs them a Super Bowl because they can't figure it out, that's going to be an indictment on him. And I did a little research before our show today, and I was wrong about this. I thought Jordan Hicks was a free agent after this year. I thought he signed a 3-year deal with the team. No. He's under contract next year for a reasonable amount of money. His cap hit next year is about $9 million. His base salary is just under $5 million. If I were to pose this question to you now, is Jordan Hicks at over 30 years old a part of this team next year? What would you say?
Oh my. Well, I would say if we're still having the same conversation at the end of the year that we are now about Zaven's development, I would say, yeah, right. You have to keep him around. If Zaven finishes the season out and it's a completely different conversation than what we're having, and he's a huge part of what they're doing, and maybe Jordan Hicks's role dwindles, then I would say, okay, we're having a different conversation. Probably not going to be around next year. But right now, the conversation is what it is. Zaven just isn't getting in the game at this point. And Vance Joseph is saying, it's on him.
I think the only way he's not on the team is if Vance Joseph is also not on the team and coaching somewhere else. And then he goes and they make a trade or they pluck Jordan Hicks.
Well, why would you want to get rid of him? There's no reason why you want to get rid of him. I remember what he did in terms of kind of just selling Zach Ertz and coming to Arizona. He's a guy that's taken Zaven Collins under his wing and has set the tone for that group, even for the defense as a leader, as somebody you can look up to that handles adversity and serious adversity, might I add, in a way that you want your players to handle it. So I would say Jordan Hicks is a very valuable part of this team. And so if you can keep him around, especially if he's under contract, I would say keep him around. The only way you wouldn't is if you're going to want to trade him because you want to bring somebody else in, and Zaven Collins is definitely going to be your guy next year and moving forward, which that was the plan. So
it's the plan. Like in May that they talked about remember Kime's line, we had these, or it was Kime or Kingsbury. We had these huge trees in the middle of our defense. Remember that line? We had 6'4" and 6'5" inside backers.
Well, that was Steve Kime. That was Steve Kime first. And then
2 weeks ago, it was Jordan Hicks and Tanner Vallejo, and Simmons was playing some safety. And it's just like, what happened to my trees? I need my trees to stop the run against Carolina. So I'm with you. I don't dislike Hicks. I was in the same camp as the team where, like, clearly they thought they needed to upgrade because he didn't play well last year. So they took a backer at 16. Now he's played much better this year.
All right, before we move on, if you have loved what we're doing so far at PHNX, a little over 2 months since we launched, which is crazy.
Woo!
Has flown by, and want to become a part of the fam, feel free to sign up, become a member, and you're going to get a free t-shirt of your choosing at phnxlocker.com. We mentioned yesterday that JJ Watt tweeted out, which what everybody knew meant that he was referring to his famous quote, "Maybe we're just effing better," which we have on a t-shirt, and it is one of our best sellers. So you can pick that up, or if you're, a fan of the Cardinals, Coyotes, Diamondbacks, ASU, U of A, and you want to get one of those t-shirts to rep, you can do that as well. Or you can just rep PHNX, because we've got some black and white PHNX tees on our website as well. So anyone can buy a shirt, phnxlocker.com, but if you become a member, which we would really appreciate, then you can get one for free.
Love it.
All right. Let's move into our final segment, Johnny.
Okay.
Which is some fun facts and stats from Sunday's game against the Seahawks, which there were plenty of them. I'm all about the stats. That when we first started this, we would do a little stat game and I would try to stump you, etc., because it's just a fun way to get them in because they're super interesting. But for the last few weeks, we just haven't had many games that were loaded with stats. So
we've been too busy winning.
Sundays. Too busy. Right. So let's start with Chandler Jones. He had 2 sacks on Sunday, which gave him 12 and a half career sacks in Seattle, which puts him in the top 10 for sacks in the stadium's history. He's the only one not to play for the Seahawks, and he's played just 6 games there. The others in the top 10 played between 20 and 72. That's wild. Wow. Chandler, there's something about Seattle that Chandler Jones gets up for.
Well, and I think it's good news too. He's got 3 sacks in the last 3 games. So are we starting to see now him creeping up to the kind of player that we thought of? The great thing about Marcus Golden all year is like it's about almost like a sack per game. You know that's coming. Chandler had that 5-sack game. And then that long stretch of no production in terms of bringing down the quarterback. Then he was out with COVID. So I'm hoping this is the start of Chandler Jones getting on his mojo a little bit because they're gonna. If the Cardinals are going to win a Super Bowl this year, and that is the bar now, we've reached that point. They're the overwhelming favorites. DraftKings Sportsbook app has them at minus 500 to win the NFC West. Which Chierstin, what that means is. You'd have to bet $500 just to win $100. That's how heavy a favorite they are via the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So we've raised the bar now. It's a Super Bowl mentality. If the Cardinals are going to win their first Super Bowl in franchise history, they need Chandler Jones to be the kind of player he was Sunday against Seattle.
Well, you mentioned the DraftKings Sportsbook app, so I might as well remind everybody that this Thanksgiving is the perfect time to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app if you have not already. They've got multiple promotions going on. If you're a new customer, bet $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game, win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. And again, for all customers, you're going to get a risk-free bet up to $25 if your same game parlay does not win. So that's for the Thanksgiving games only. But here's a promotion that anybody can take advantage of, even if you already have downloaded the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So definitely get in on it. Love taking advantage of some of those opportunities where you can get risk-free bets going or money in free bets going as well. So they've got that going on the DraftKings Sportsbook app on Thanksgiving. All right. Also, I wanted to mention that Chandler tweeted out something pretty interesting. He said, after the 4-sack game in 2019 against the Hawks, I put my cleats in my bedroom closet for memorabilia. Saturday morning, I dug those bad boys out, blew the dust off them, and packed them for the trip. Same laces, soles, and all. LOL. Hashtag superstitious. But he doesn't mean that he like wore those, just that they're like in his bag.
No, I think he wore them.
Oh.
That's what I read that as, because I think there was a comment from somebody underneath saying, let's dust off the 5-sack cleats from the Tennessee game. And he said those got basically ruined after that game because he wore them all throughout camp. And so he no longer has those cleats. So okay, I read that as
he dust them off. He means he dusted them off and wore them. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Can we keep those? Can we duct tape those bad boys? Wear them the rest of the year?
Those should be.
No new cleats.
I would love it if every time that he plays in Seattle from here on out, he brings those cleats out, because that's a very interesting stat, and those should be worth some money for sure.
When Chandler's right, there's not a better pass rusher in the NFL. It was so difficult to watch him go disappearing in games for long stretches of the season. But I mean, you just knew when they had that sack on the first possession, like it's going to be his kind of afternoon.
Yeah.
And then Marcus does such a great job feeding off of Chandler. That's how you win a championship. Elite pass rush and elite quarterback play. And the Cardinals have both of those, which gives them an opportunity.
So did you say Marcus?
Yeah.
Okay, because you're that internet is much better than it was, but you cut out.
No. It's
what I was gonna say.
Come
No,
on.
everything's great, Johnny. Appreciate it. Just like cut out for like a quick second there, but gotcha. Because I was gonna mention that he secured his 10th sack of the season on Sunday, which earned him a $500,000 incentive, and that was the third sack incentive that he's reached this season, which is incredible. If he gets another 3 sacks, he's going to earn another $1 million. That's according to Field Yates. So he's racking up the incentives, and he was asked today, when you've got so much money built into incentives, does that put a little more stress on you, knowing that you've got to perform in order to get that money? And here's what he had to say.
Of course, it was tough because at first, but I didn't did it before. I did it before when I was in New York. And once you do something one time, it's like you believe you can do it no matter what. So now I got the confidence. When we was writing the contract, I was already smiling because I knew I was going to get it. So now after you do it one time and you get the second opportunity to do it again, it's like it's easy. It's way easier. So I kind of knew I was going to get it this time. I'm just happy I'm able to have teammates and have the coaches be able to help me out and put me in a position to get it. But I was pretty confident once we wrote that contract up this offseason.
He was confident. He was ready for the challenge. Challenge accepted.
It's like so many players get paid for their past success in the NFL, and then they just kind of coast, right? That's happened to the Cardinals many, many times. And then you've got a guy saying, okay, I may look like I'm underpaid. Let's put these incentives into my contract because I know I'm going to hit them. I have that belief in myself. So are there 2 better contracts in the NFL right now than Marcus Golden at what he's making at just over, I think, like $2 million? And then Colt McCoy, who is making just over $1 million. I tweeted something out before the show. His signing bonus, you know how much that was? Under $200,000 for this year. That's what his signing bonus was. And he won 2 road divisional games. How teams like the Chicagos of the world, teams that are struggling, what would they pay for that kind of production? I know because they're paying Andy Dalton $10 million to be a backup right now, and he's not putting together that kind of performance. Kudos to Steve Keim and the Cardinals cap management team. Phenomenal job.
All right, we'll finish it up with one more stat. Arizona's defense, obviously led by VJ, held Seattle to 13 points. We know that. It was their NFL best 8th game of 2021, holding opponents to 20 or fewer. Since the start of 2020, Arizona has held opponents to 20 or fewer, and an NFL best 16 times in 12 of the last 17. Give Vance Joseph credit.
I know, the bend but not break approach. I love to dog on the run defense. It doesn't matter. Yards are the most hollow stat in the NFL.
Yes.
If you are not putting up points and you're not surrendering points, it does not matter. The Cardinals could give up 600 yards, but if they have 4 turnovers forced and keep the other team under 20 points, they're going to win the game. So to me, we want to question a lot about these coaches do, but there's a method to their madness. You just have to trust Vance Joseph at this point. I think most of us felt like, especially after the Carolina performance, the defense was going to play well Sunday. I felt that way. I just didn't think Colt McCoy could do what he did. But I felt like the Cardinal defense would respond, and they kept them in that game.
I agree. Let's bring in NFL AZ Cardinals
I saw this question.
Finish out our show. This person is asking if you could invite one Cardinal player this year to Thanksgiving dinner. Who would you invite? Let's end it on this note.
Oh, man. Cardinal player this year, probably historically it would have been Larry. Larry's not on the team anymore. It probably would be Cliff if I could pick anybody, but as a player, who do you think would be fun to eat with? Because, I don't know, Kyler and D-Hop, do these guys have, strict eating regimens? I don't want to be limited on what I would or wouldn't eat. Maybe somebody probably J.J. Watt. I would probably want to have Thanksgiving with J.J. Watt and his family.
I would say JJ, since you picked him, I'm going to go a different route. You're all about having fun and eating on Thanksgiving, which I am too. But if I had the opportunity to sit Kyler down and just say, listen, we know you don't care for reporters, okay? We know it. But how can we better shape the relationship between you, me, the rest of the reporters that are on the Cardinals beat, did we do something wrong? How can we?
And then
how
he's
can
going
we
to say,
win
I've
this
lost my
relationship?
appetite, Chierstin. I'm getting out of here.
In all seriousness, Kyler's great with media, but we definitely know that that talking with reporters is not his favorite thing. So if I had a chance to invite him to dinner, say, Kyler, I'm not scary, like we can talk, we can have fun. It doesn't, when we're in these press conferences, they don't even all have to be questions about football, right? Like, so I'm going to go with Kyler since you took my JJ Watt.
Pray for Kyler in that
Thanks for
scenario.
joining us.
Okay,
Johnny,
nice.
We got to go get ready for Friendsgiving, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye.